Hello, and welcome to today's session, the Ideas Exchange of the HFTP Leadership Excellence Series. The idea exchange is based on when other people are invited to brainstorm possible solutions to a problem. The list of options is much longer and richer in possibilities. And since people are usually more motivated to complete a task when they are sharing their results, we ask for all comments to be posted in the group's online community. Now, the group was presented with two questions inside that community. The focus area one question addressed the labor market and the challenges facing the industry to attract and retain talent. The focus area two centered on customer service. What does it look like post-COVID? How to implement new protocols and guidelines without impacting the company's culture. The HFTP Leadership Excellence Series experience should encourage participation through active speaking opportunities and presenting ideas to the full group. So Jim and Art have selected several participants to join in today's conversation. Hearing and learning from each other is one of the main components of this leadership series. I would like to now welcome Jim and Art, who are the co-chairs of this program and also HFTP board directors. Over to you, Jim.
Thank you very much. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everyone, wherever you are in the world. So before we dive in and we speak to some of our participants about their experience, I thought I would tell everybody about my experience based on the two questions that we're referring to. So I know that most of you know me as an HFTP board of director, but in my role as the finance director for Rosen Hotels and Resorts, I am responsible for 7 hotels or 6,338 guest rooms. Our hotels are all full service, but range from what we refer to as leisure properties to full service resorts, hosting golf events, spa, food and beverage, massive banquet facilities. I'm also responsible for the management of a medical center that our associates go to for primary care if they're part of our healthcare program. We have an aquatic center in the Orlando area. I am responsible or oversee in a subsidiary company called Millennium Technology Group and another company called Proventure. Millennium Technology sells services, technology services to other hospitality entities, as well as Rosen Hotels and Resorts. And Proventure is a full-service insurance company, sells services to other hotels, and is also acting as our risk management team. So if I was to answer the first question about the changes we made in hiring process post-COVID, I would tell you that the process hasn't changed, but the biggest difference between today and pre-COVID would be the speed at which we make an attempt to hire someone. The process probably would have gone on much longer between multiple interviews with different staff members, maybe making the candidate wait for a short period of time before hearing back from us as we interviewed other candidates. Now we're trying to move some of that process along very, very quickly. And sometimes offering positions on the spot to associates. We have made very, very significant changes in hourly pay, as well as some salaried pay to be competitive in the marketplace. And we depend very, very heavily on temp labor. Our second question in that arena was, has the finance or the IT staff changed in size over the past couple of years and or location? And so our company put in place a policy allowing a mixed virtual and in-person office for salaried staff members. All hourly staff members are still expected to come to the office as usual at this point. We are exploring other opportunities with regard to technology to allow some hourly staff members to operate off premise. And lastly, from a customer service perspective, I would just generally put out there, and it can answer a million questions on this subject, of trying to automate processes and streamline the guest check-in experience, ordering food and beverage electronically, paying at table, paying on demand. We still offer all services such as room service at our convention hotels. We've gone back to buffet style restaurants at our leisure properties, and we're slowly but surely trying to return business or function as business as usual, but using technology to our advantage. So that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. We want to turn to Eileen with the Field Club. Eileen, are you out there? Eileen,
Hello.
sorry. Hi. So do you want to give us a recap regarding your hiring change processes?
Our process for hiring hasn't really changed. Like you were doing, we try to hire people as soon as we can get them in here. But we've seen a lot of times where even with that, though, we'll still get calls from people after we've filled out all the paperwork that they've decided to go somewhere else or whatever the case may be. So we're having a lot of that on the flip side of the trying to quickly hire people as well. It was when we laid everybody off back at the beginning of COVID, we thought, oh, this is going to be, we'll have the pick of the crop once it's time to start rehiring people. And, obviously that didn't happen. So we have been slowly getting, but something that we've tried to kind of focus on is older employees, not necessarily old, but, 50, 60-ish as for servers. As opposed to the teenagers, because the teenagers come and go all the time, where the older, more seasoned folks like the benefits, like the health insurance, like that we're a family, and we can make some accommodations for them. So we actually have better retention with those folks than we do the younger people who are going to be looking for their next opportunity.
Okay. Is there a method by which you might be targeting that older group of people in any kind of advertising or recruitment effort? Or it's just kind of happening that way? It's
just kind of happening that way.
Yep.
When we see those kind of resumes come through, they kind of jump out at us, and we try to make sure we can bring those people in if we can.
Okay. You mentioned in your notes that you outsource IT, and you have for quite some time. IT is one of those areas that we are having problems with regard to retention and even hiring people, qualified people. Did you see that your outsourced company had any issues with customer service or keeping up with you? Has the level of service been the same?
The level of service that I've seen has been the same. They've actually, we're doing a lot of hiring. So during COVID, we did have some of when you would call in for, you got locked out of your computer or something like that. It may have been like a younger intern type person doing some of those basic type things. But we haven't noticed any decrease in the level of service that we've been getting for IT.
That's great. So, how, what about the future? So things looking bright, things looking good from an employment perspective?
I mean, I think that we're still going to see, I was just trying to work on some budget numbers for next year, and, looking at what the payroll is going to be. And, there was an article that I just saw that said Social Security is probably going to be over 8% increase next year. And, you look at the cost of living and the cost of living adjustments over the last year, and it's over 8%. So I think that we're going to have to see, again, large increases in payroll again next year.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. We're seeing the same. So having said all of that, comparing pre-COVID to post-COVID, were there any things that you introduced or make operational changes pre-COVID that will kind of now stick in the post-COVID world, or enhancements that you've done to customer service?
When COVID hit, prior to COVID, we've been doing a lot of banqueting, and they would be member-sponsored banquets, but they would be for outside groups. And, so you might have 100, 150 people in the club that no one recognizes when they come in, and, parking's always the premium. And so that aggravated a lot of people. So when COVID hit and we did away with all banqueting for quite some time, we had done a membership survey, because it was time. We do typically 5 to 7 years, we'll do a full membership survey. And so it was time for that. And overwhelmingly, the responses were that they liked the exclusivity of not having those banquets. So we have gone now to where the only banqueting we have is like weddings, birthdays, memorial services, those type of member events, or related to the member and their family type events. And it seems like that's going to be the way we're going to go for at least the foreseeable future. It may change down the road, but we've had a huge influx of members. We have about a 3-year wait list right now of people. So we had increased our initiation fee last year, and if you got your application in before the end of the calendar year, you were still under the old rate. And then if it came in January or after, it was at the new rate. And we had over 70 applications come in, and we already had about 30 in process. We have about 100 applications in process right now, and we typically lose about 24 or so members a year. So it's going to be quite some time before those new applications that are still coming in will actually become a member.
And was your application price increase extensive or moderate?
It went from 25,000 to 32.
And did you receive pushback, or it was business as usual?
No, we've still seen, typically we would get about 2 applications a month. And since the increase has gone into effect, that's continued, even though we got the 70 applications before the end of the year. But a lot of people appreciated that our club didn't shut down during COVID. So, we shifted. If we weren't allowed to have on-premises dining, it was to go, but people would come and sit by the pool or play tennis, or boating was huge. So they were still using the club, and a lot of the other clubs in the area would periodically be closed. And so, all these people were saying, telling their friends, oh, my club didn't close. So we got a whole bunch of their friends that decided to join.
Wow, great. Well, thank you for sharing. Any other important things you think the group should know about?
No, I don't think I have anything else.
Okay, very good. Art, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Jim, and a quick thank you to Barbara and Brittany for help getting us set up today, and thank you to all of you for participating today, and the huge number of posts that we got on the community side. It was getting pretty difficult there at the end, trying to look at each one and make sure that we had a chance to ask some additional questions or what have you, and really sincerely appreciate all the participation. And Jim, I'm amazed as to how big your operation is. It's like, holy mackerel, unbelievable. So thanks for sharing those tidbits as well. Most of you have already heard, I've been a member of HFTP for over 36 years. I've been in the industry my entire, working career. And, right now as an independent consultant, I've got about 10 different clients, that I'm connected with, hit and miss depending upon what their needs are. And, in relation to, the questions for this session, I started looking at what's happening at those, and I came up with a couple of items that I think are interesting to share with the entire group. One is on the labor side. 2 of the hotel groups that I'm involved with, and one restaurant group, to deal with the manager burnout and manager retention and just hiring managers, have gone to 40-hour work weeks for managers. which 5 years ago we would have all thought that's completely insane. There's no way in the world that that'll ever happen, in a hotel or a restaurant operation. But more and more companies are realizing that because the employees want to have a better work-life balance, they've got to be able to deal with this 60-hour work week that we've all faced for so many years. The interesting thing is that in talking to those clients, while they have definitely increased the amount of candidates and they've gotten a little bit of stability, I assumed, okay, 40 hours probably means 44 hours, 45, 48. And no, they've actually tried to stick with that. And it's had a really great positive impact. They have raised the wages even. So here's, managers that, we all, worked our tails off years ago for 60, 70-hour work weeks. And now people are actually, getting, better compensation, which I think all of us are dealing with, the increases, on the compensation side. One of the restaurant groups has also gone to another approach of dealing with offering managers a 4-day work week, 10 hours per day. And they've had an awful lot of really positive success with that. One of the groups that I work with has gone to a premium pay rate for managers that work evenings and weekends as well. So my question that I've had to these and that I think all of us would have, okay, well, how are you paying for all of this stuff? Well, the good news is that average daily rate has been, incredibly strong throughout the industry. And, on the, restaurant side, most, if not all, have had to increase, prices because of supply chain issues as well. But they've also, I've seen more and more going the route of, you don't get bread for free. You don't get a salad, included in your meal. You got to pay extra for those. But then they're adding, if you want extra butter, you're going to be paying extra for butter. If you want extra barbecue sauce, you're going to be paying extra. And, while there's a degree of pushback, everybody, seems to be accepting it. One of the other, pieces that I, got, on the staffing and on the business side was I have one owner that I work with that is in a very, very remote location. And during their busy period, they have to bring in traveling staff and some international staff. And historically, they'll work with a temp service, and the temp service will go out and find apartments or housing, for these individuals. Well, as we all know, the real estate market has gone ridiculously sky high. Rental rates have gone ridiculously sky high. So what this one owner did was they went and they actually had a general manager house where the general manager had part of his compensation to have a house. So it was a very, very large house, very, very old, nothing really nice. And they basically paid him off to move out of the house, and they converted it into 10 dormitory rooms inside of the house. They also had 2 guest rooms that had been converted to storage. They had virtually no rooms to it. They converted those into dormitories. They had a second, property that was attached, and it used to have a general manager suite as well as administrative offices that weren't being used. They converted those into dormitories as well, for the staff. And while they were using a lot of these for storage, where are they going to put the storage? Because they're remote, they actually got fairly lucky with the supply chain, issues, because they already had an awful lot of additional product stored, because of their remote location. And while they took away the storage facilities, they replaced the storage facilities, with containers in a remote area of the property. So, those are, a few of the interesting things that I've heard. We were talking earlier about, several properties, trying to support a lot of the refugees coming in from the Ukraine. And one property in particular had several rooms that were out of service. They were going to renovate them, but really hadn't been able to get around it. And they put their Ukraine refugees into those rooms to be able to provide housing for them as well, too. So those are some of the ideas that I've seen and have had, hopefully some very, very positive impacts on them and, for you all. At this point, again, we had a lot of people that posted some really great comments, and we tried to pick a few people that were available to be able to speak. And the next person we'd like to be able to have share some more details about their comments is Justin Grigull. And Justin, if you could share a little bit about what your role is and who you're with, and then highlight some of the points that you had posted on the community. Thank you, Justin.
Sure. Thank you, Art, and good morning, everybody. So my name is Justin Grigull. I'm currently with Tishman, so it's an owner asset management group. We've got 8 hotels in the Orlando area and some in New York and Chicago as well. I was previously with Hyatt up until a few months ago, so a lot of kind of my perspective comes both from the operator and the ownership side at this point. So a lot of both Art and James, Eileen shared a lot of kind of what I was saying on the labor side of my post, but a little further than that, beyond the flexibility, beyond the working quickly to secure, candidates, the big thing for us and for me has been making sure the retention component is there, making sure the people that are currently working with us will stay working, and making sure the people that, we're trying so hard investing in getting, to accept an offer, that once they do, we really pay special attention to that onboarding process. Everybody's short-staffed in the restaurants, in housekeeping and really every area of the hotel. So the people that are actually, training these new hires, a lot of it is rushed. They're trying to get somebody in and trained in a couple days. They may not have the best attitude because they're so short-staffed. So making sure that the ones who are actually training our people are creating a good outlet, and saying, okay, this is a really great place to work. Here's how we do things correctly. Here's, here are all the positives about, what we're going through, rather than, we're 100% occupied all the time, and you're going to be working, overtime every day and 6 and 7 days a week. Those kind of attitudes really weigh a lot. And when people, are interviewing for positions, we're finding that they've got a few different companies they're interviewing with all at the same time. So there may be a couple other offers out. So even though if they start with you, within a few days, they could easily say, okay, this is not for me. This is not the place long-term that I want to work. It's not any better than where I was before. So they wind up either not showing up for the next shift or quitting, and then moving on to another opportunity. So that's really important. Other things on the labor side is really tapping into the talent that you actually have, on your properties, making sure that we understand what they actually want. It's easy to say, okay, we're gonna give you a pay bonus, or we're gonna give you a pizza party, or we're gonna give you, a shorter work week, or try to limit the overtime. But until you really understand who the people you have, what they really want, it's really tough to get a catch-all incentive to make everybody happy, because everybody's got a little bit of a different personality. So one of the things that we've done, recently, obviously with the price of goods going up and gas prices going up, looking at gas cards and things like that, asking people, hey, what do you actually want as an incentive? Maybe you can't do a financial bonus, but maybe you can do a gas card or a grocery store card, or maybe we can buy a bunch of food products, and then have a farmer's market, where all the associates can come and buy food at cost. So different things to kind of help our people out has really gone a long way in terms of retention. In the focus area 2, unless you have any follow-up questions on those, so I'll move on to sort of the focus area 2. Talking about the customer service, right? So there's things that we've implemented, stay over programs. The other side of tapping into what our labor wants is what does our customer want? So going out to understanding, okay, do people like the make a green choice, as some companies call it, or stay over programs? Do we need housekeeping every day? Do we need to reopen every single outlet? Do we need to have full service room service? Things like those, and understanding at our properties, what our type of clients want. And from an ownership perspective is pushing back on some of those brand standards and saying, okay, but this is not what our customers are wanting. Can we make this change here? Can we optimize and become, more productive in other areas with the people that we have? So that's really been important. And then, Jim, I think you mentioned before some of the mobile ordering has been huge for us too at the resort properties, where somebody can scan a QR code. They can make an order right from their phone. They can pay for it right on their phone or charge it to their room. And then they can go pick it up themselves. If you're hanging out at the pool, you can make an order, then you could go pick up your drink and your burger up at the bar. And that limits, that helps out staffing as well and makes it all more productive. And the other thing that I mentioned was making sure that with the customer changing to transient, we've all seen it, I think, in every market where it's a little bit of a more difficult customer. So making sure that our people feel respected and enabled to make decisions when a customer may be not respectful of them, right? So we've always heard, all our careers, that the customer is always right, but how do we enable our staff to actually, make a decision to protect themselves in a situation if a guest is, screaming at them or irrational, how do we support them, and make it feel like, okay, sure, the customer can be right, but at the same time, they have to be respectful. So that's gone a long way as well for us. Go ahead, Jim, you got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. So your ordering from QR code was something that you had pre-COVID, or it was a result of COVID and now it stays?
It was something being explored prior to COVID. Really didn't get enacted till during. So that's kind of stayed on, and that's been a huge, like I kind of mentioned, it's been a huge save on labor for us.
Very good, thank you.
And Justin, getting the feedback from a big high-end company like Tishman Group is really great. Thank you, for all of your points. The one that I'm the most curious about in there is that you talked about the fact that there are some IT and finance functions that can be done remote. Enhancing productivity and cost efficiency. Can you share some ideas of some things that you are actually looking to potentially engage in over the next 12 to 24 months in that realm?
Sure. So, on the administration side, at the actual organization of Tishman, for, our headquarters is in New York, but so we've actually outsourced our IT at this point. And then on the property level, what we're doing is, sort of combining a few of our properties, making sure we're kind of setting ourselves up where, from the IT perspective, we have one person who's two people who are regional roles. One can work as more of a back office, working on setting up, everything that's kind of cloud-based and that can be handled remotely where somebody else may be doing something on property, setting up hardware and things like that. So that's kind of been helpful for us. And then, from a finance perspective, looking at the positions that can be 100% remote, allowing them to be, and then maybe, because of those productivity enhancements where somebody may not have to commute every day, or, a management position that was previously working a lot more hours, now they can handle a couple properties or split a few properties between a couple of people, where it would have been one person, like a chief accountant, on site at property every single day. Now that person can, be off site at remotely handling a few functions for a couple different properties. So that's been an enhancement that we've made that's had been very successful for us.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think we're all dealing with an awful lot of remote IT support, these days, and I think we look back and go, why didn't we do some of this stuff remote, in the past? But at least it's working. Justin, do you have anything else you want to be able to add before we turn it back over to Jim?
No, that was it from my end. Go ahead, Jim.
Thanks very much for your input. It's greatly appreciated. Our next participant is Sheila. Sheila is with the Tuxedo Club in New York. Sheila, are you out there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Hi, we sure can. Thank you very much for agreeing to share some of your insights with us. When Sheila answered the original question regarding changes in operation, she talked a lot about succession planning. And so, Sheila, give us some insight on why this came up. Is it a result of COVID? Did something happen in your environment that caused you to want to or have to do this? And what exactly has been the process?
Sure, absolutely. So really it really focused on particularly our food and beverage department having someone that would handle our golf clubhouse because we have 2 campuses here. And you would go on to like the club manager's website or anybody like that, and there's, a handful of other clubs looking for the exact same unicorn that we were. And so we really started taking a look at, well, maybe we should be developing our people more internally and things of that nature. So it's still kind of in the infancy of it, but we're definitely starting to talk on the senior management level, not even just within the food and beverage department, because we feel as though this is going to be, club-wide eventually. Whether it's myself in the accounting department or our golf course superintendent, or even our golf pro. Again, they're having issues as well. How can we develop the people that we do get? Because you do invest a lot of time and energy to bring them on. To what someone else was saying, you have people come and you want them to stay. You don't want them to be like, yeah, this isn't for me, and they immediately leave. So I think we're just good. Go ahead.
Are you using or researching some specific tools, or how are you going about identifying the people that you believe are the next in line or that you need to groom for these different positions?
I think so the one individual that we kind of focused our attentions on, we actually were looking for someone that had, leadership skills that we could develop. Maybe they didn't necessarily have any type of training or maybe any type of education or anything like that nature with leadership. And, we were just taking our collective skill sets that we have as senior managers and saying, hey, this person may be a great person if we can kind of take them under our wing and, really kind of focus that way. I don't have any tools or anything like that. We are looking to kind of revamp our human resources and, putting someone more in that, like someone else was saying, like training or, kind of mentoring, because the managers are busy, doing other things, and they might not be able to put the time and energy into that. But those basic skills might be somewhere where we can develop with inside. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So one of the other things that you mentioned was some automation in finance. Can you give us a little details on what you're doing?
Yes. So, obviously we're small within the accounting department. We don't have many people here, but we're looking to, potentially do automation of accounts payable. I know probably some of the larger companies are already doing that, but on the smaller side, we haven't. It's still a very manual process. But that definitely seems to be a trend that I've spoken to with my colleagues within, and particularly the New Jersey chapter. A couple of the clubs have had some success with automating their accounts payable and also automating accounts receivable, instead of spending the time doing collections and things of that nature, billing a credit card, on the 5th day of the month or whatever day we do it. And then that just kind of eliminates, having to do collections and spending time on chasing members around. And obviously there's a fee associated with that. And for country clubs, that's sometimes a hard pill to swallow, but I feel as though if we can just somehow work it in, it'll definitely have more positives than negatives.
That's great. So if it's okay, I'm going to quote you in your response when you indicated that operating like pre-COVID is gone, never to return, no future in the past. Do you care to elaborate on how different your environment is and what your real intention is in that statement? I could make a very similar statement.
Yeah, there was someone else had posted, and they just very eloquently had talked about how we just have to stop being like, oh, well, this is how we used to do it. It's just, you can't anymore. Hours have changed. People working remotely You know, our members are here. We're about an hour outside of Manhattan, and a lot of this is where their second home is located. And a lot of our members are now living out here full time. You know, it's so we have a little bit busier movement and foot traffic in that format. And just, you know, doing more with less, I feel like is really where we're at right now. I mean, we're just.
I think that's a resounding sentiment from lots of people.
Yep. Yeah. So I just think like they're like, oh well, we used to do it. We used to operate this way. Yeah. Move on. We don't have time.
Yeah.
There's too many other things. Too many other pressing matters we need to deal with.
Okay. So for your customer service answer, you gave some detail related to moving or shifting towards self-service. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that and what you've done, and assuming that not looking back, although COVID happened and it's becoming somewhat more manageable, your self-service is here to stay?
Yeah, so particularly I want to say like in our pool environment as well as our halfway house, it's more grab and go, and we're not having it staffed, you know, 7 days a week. You know, Mondays and Tuesdays, you know, we've told them there will be no, you know, food service, but we'll have some things available for you, you know, to grab and go. And it is a bit on the honor system, you know, that we hopefully they'll do that. But and the members are adjusting. And I think even, I mean, we've brought servers on, and unfortunately they're leaving us within just a couple of weeks of joining. And, you know, they just say it's not for them, whatever the case may be. I often wonder if maybe we'll end up, as much as I don't want to, because it's not what the environment we want, but going to like buffets and things of that nature, just because we just don't have the staff to service dinner, you know, on a Sunday night or whatever the case may be.
Understood. So any words of wisdom for the group related to changes you've made and how you're moving forward in this new normal?
Oh, no, I don't think so. Just no future in the past. I think that's yeah. It.
I think that's fantastic. That's a great term to use.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your insights. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you so much for putting this all together. It was really helpful and insightful to see, Absolutely. You know, what everyone else had to say and stuff like that. So I really appreciate it.
Great. Good. Thanks for participating. We appreciate that too. And Art, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Jim, and thank you, Sheila. The next person that we're going to have, you know, highlight, you know, some of their thoughts and observations is Clare Peace with Surapay. And before I let her go ahead and speak, I have to tell you, I have a very soft side and warm side for the HR side, and I love seeing you know, more people that are on the HR side, or refer to sometimes the dark side, you know, involved with HFTP. For me personally, my daughter's an HR director, you know, for W Hotels. My son is an HR manager for a, you know, a golf country club, you know, company as well. And I've had HR report to me multiple times. And even here in Phoenix, our Arizona chapter every year tries to have one of our meetings, a joint meeting with the HR group. So Claire, thank you for participating. And here's an opportunity to go ahead and share, you know, some more details about your post, you know, comments.
Oh, thank you so much. And I am so sorry. I'm actually at a SHRM conference right now, and I just realized my battery is going to be running out. But one of the things, I've been doing this for 20 years right now, as I came from RSM, the Bladry, in the hospitality industry. And one of the things I always tell the clients who I'm working with is, even before COVID, is to step out of the box, you know, get creative, do things that are not what everyone's doing. And I look at a lot of the policies and procedures that are going on. Some of the things that I look at is, you know, when I talk to a client, it said, well, this is the way we've been doing it, and it's worked. Well, it doesn't work today. You need to get real creative. I look at the policies like the PTOs, and a lot of them have, well, we have to start off a year from now. And say, well, why? Why do you have to do that? Why not start on day of, you know, the first day to start accruing? And then after 90 days, they can see some of those accrual bases. Those are important things because it really helps out with the organization, and it gives them a whole different level of confidence to bring those employees in and keep them. I still have some clients that, you know, GMs and club managers that are working hybrid, 3 days on, 2 days off at home, because it's still that flexibility and that comfort level. So we'll never be back to the normal. We're always going to be in a changing, but what I can tell you is just be creative, think out of the box. I've been talking about job sharing for over 20 years. This is nothing, and all of a sudden now we're talking about job sharing. I had said, maybe you've got two great professionals that don't want to work the full time, but they can share that responsibility. For example, controller. And we're going through a whole different stage in life right now. People, we're going through an aging stages. And I love what Sheila had mentioned is that you have to change. You cannot do the same thing over and over again, right? You have to make those changes and just get creative. There's a lot of ways to do that. As being as bilingual, every time I go into a club, I go around every department and I talk to everyone. How are things going? And I want to engage with them because I want to feel the temperature of what's going on within my clients. And I also want to let the GMs know and the controllers know this is what's going on. They might not see it or hear it because they may not want to talk to them. But when they start seeing me more often, they build that trust. And being bilingual, I can go into golf maintenance and, put my hard hat on and my boots and just walk in there and say, how are things going? And they really appreciate that, especially as coming from their language. So things will continue to change. We will never go back to the old ways. And what I tell everybody is just be really creative and think out of the box. There's so many opportunities. Look at your policies right now and look at what needs to be changed and what can you do better. Who said that? Justin talked about the cards. Oh.
So Claire, real quick, just so that we don't lose you before your battery dies out. And Thomas, I see Thomas has got a question. So I have one question for you, and then we'll let Thomas go ahead and ask a question as well. What's the most successful creative new item that you have seen on the hiring practice side? It looks like we may have lost. The battery must be dead. Thomas, go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go. What's your question? And hopefully, if Claire can't verbally respond, she can respond back in the chat or post a response, on the community site.
Well, it's one of those. I guess I've been. One of the things we're struggling with is the drug testing and the marijuana things that have come forward. And I was just wondering with Claire how she's dealing with that, and how many people here have really looked at getting rid of the discount for your workers' comp by doing, we've always done the drug-free workplace. It was mainly done, at least on our side, to make sure somebody had control over their life. We weren't testing them once they started, but as long as they could prove that they could control themselves with the drugs, that they're worth bringing in. And now with the marijuana becoming legal and all that kind of stuff, and we're having people not show up for drug tests. So that when they got choices of 50 places to go to, we're not going to be one of those choices if they have to worry about not smoking marijuana for a month or something to that effect. So I just think it's a really big deal right now to try to figure out what's the best way to go.
Thomas, excellent point on the drug testing and all of the changes that have. Does anybody have anything unique that they've done in reference to drug testing changes? Raise your hand and we'll call on you. Maybe we'll add that one, Thomas, on to a discussion point on the community to see, to get our other participants to share some thoughts. Jim, what do you got?
So I would take that a step further, Thomas. And for us, Rosen Hotels is a drug-free, tobacco-free work environment. We do not allow smoking, and Mr. Rosen and the human resource team will not budge on that policy. It remains in place. Excuse me, and we are still doing random drug testing even after hire.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Jim. So we're going to have two more people speak, and then we'll wrap up the session today. Jim, next one is for you.
So, hi, Jonathan. Are you here with us from Lost Tree Group? Jonathan?
I am here. Hold on.
Hi, Jonathan.
Too many buttons to
So-
press.
Yeah, how about that? Thank you for joining us. So we do have a little bit of a limited amount of time, and you gave a lot of feedback in your questions. So could we spend a little bit of time and target specifically related to the technology changes that you made? You indicated in your answer the club was kind of adverse to technology, but now you've been, shall we say, forced to embrace it?
Twist their arms is what more like it. I
Okay.
came into the organization right at the start of COVID. So, and one of my things I've always been pushing is technology. And, you know, when you have clubs in general are technology backwards, should we say, or they have a fear of technology. And, but one of the big things when COVID happened, we have series of events that we felt that we needed to keep member engagement up. So we started streaming events. So we invested in, you know, cameras, all the IT equipment that surrounds streaming events. And we did it ourselves here. Now, they all weren't perfect, but it got member engagement. And sometimes we had 200 to 300 people on, you know, streaming it, just watching the event. And those were a lot of people that did not feel comfortable coming to the club still, you know, up until recently, you know, or who were traveling. You know, this allowed people, you know, obviously we're mostly the second or third home of our members. So if they're traveling or if they're somewhere else, this was a perfect way to keep them engaged and make sure that, you know, because we all know, when do resignations come? Resignations come when the dues letters go out. So you don't want to be the club that they say, well, I didn't really do anything with them this year, you know, because of COVID restrictions or whatever. So I'm just going to resign from there. So really, keeping the member engaged was our number one. You know, we put in an app. You know, we did a whole bunch of things that before COVID we would have never done.
Right. Very good. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And I don't mean to cut you off short. Is there anything else that you think is important related to your post-COVID recovery?
Well, it's just keeping that engagement up. You know, some of these things. Very good. We in the club world, we can't call it to-go food. We call it dining al fresco.
Okay.
Especially for us not-for-profit clubs.
Very good.
So that is definitely here to stay. And now we've had to make adjustments again to be able to accommodate that.
Understood. Great. Thanks for participating. Art, back to you.
Thank you very much, Jim. I see Claire's got her hand up. Claire, what kind of question do you want to bring up?
Oh, I just apologize. Boy, did I need my IT guys here right now. I apologize. I was talking. I was saying I was at a SHRM conference and listening to all these other companies talk about all the same problems that each one of you is having. This is reality. But anyway, I apologize because I love to speak about everything that's going on in the hospitality as, you know, from a different vantage point that I see things. And, but again, I apologize, but boy, I needed you guys, my IT guys, where are they? So, and I apologize if there's anything if there's anything that, any questions that anyone had, again, let me know, you know, if there was any, I know I was speaking pretty fast there.
Thank you very much, Claire, and thank you for participation in this as well too. So the last person that we want to call on, and unfortunately we're going to have to control the amount of time because I know Agnes DeFranco, past president of HFTP, you could probably speak, for an hour or two on this subject. Agnes, we really appreciate your participation. I think from the university side, you bring some very interesting observations. I know myself, I'm on the advisory board of 3 different university HRM programs, which I think you're aware of. And the biggest challenge that I keep hearing from each one of them is the online student quality of their grading and their performance and staying committed to the program at the university. So Agnes, the floor is yours. Go ahead and share some of your thoughts and observations on these topics.
Absolutely, thank you. And there's two sides. One is the teaching side, right? So just like Jonathan said, we invested a lot of money, and luckily we have, Hilton was very nice to give us a bunch of money to retrofit our classrooms. So we have really state-of-the-art cameras and all that, and we can stream to our students to make sure that they, although they're not there with us, they can still raise their hand, they can still talk, and whatever, we can still connect and so on. And we also do a lot of other things to help them to understand the materials, because at the end is that we want to make sure that our product, which is our students, will be good for all of you who are in the industry who are trying to hire them. But I don't want to dwell on that too much, but I want to talk a little bit more about how we get our students to you, because we're looking at hiring, right, to make sure that we have students enough and good students to get to the workplace. And so we have to really scrub everything, like you said, and like a lot of people said earlier about, there's no, feature in the past and all that. Then Sheila talked about, we scrapped our career fair. There's no more career fair in the sense that for 2 years, we couldn't hold our career fair because people cannot travel. This spring, we started having our career fair again, but we also have the virtual component because there are some companies that they cannot send recruiters yet to go to so many universities. So we do also virtual interviews and so on. And we rely also a lot nowadays on social media. So that if I see my own alums or see some of my HFTP colleagues who have openings, I'll just reshare the post and see if our students or some of our recent graduates can apply for those jobs and so on. And personal referrals, again, is another big thing, especially in accounting and finance, because there's not many of our students who are actually in the finance area. But I want to stress one point too, and it's what Justin said, is that we work with our students to tell them, you need to take all your employment offers seriously. You should not just go, oh, I want to work for you. And then 2 days later, you don't like it, and then you change, because it wastes a lot of the time and energy of the company who just hired you. And that's not fair for the company. So we want to make sure that they understand all that. And many of you share a lot of good ideas about, positive ideas too, about reinforcement to hire students and so on. And one thing I want to share is that one of the companies that one of our students who graduated in December, he was narrowed down to 2 companies, and he had to tell those companies in a few days' time as to which one he would want to go with. He's originally from Dallas, and there's a company in Dallas that want to hire him. So he would want to go there, but also there's a company in Houston that he would really love to stay in Houston. So guess what the company in Houston did? They understand that he has to find a place to live, and they have hotels. And 6 months ago, 5 months ago, the occupancy rate is not all the way there as yet. They offered him this. They said, why don't you stay in one of our limited service hotel for a month while you look for a place to stay? And you don't have to pay anything for it. And that just sold him, because he feels that this company really cares about him and his decision versus just want to put a job in front of him. So I really want to thank all of you who are in the community and in the business side to keep on hiring our students. I know Jason's from Hong Kong Polytechnic University as well. And we're really thankful that we want to have this partnership keep on going and positive and all that. So just want to thank you, Art and James, for giving me a chance to speak to the group.
Agnes, thank you so much. And I think, Thomas had an interesting, comment post where we lost a generation, of workers in the hospitality industry. And as I've been speaking to Scottsdale Community College, ASU, and NAU, I've been promoting the fact that the future of this industry is coming from the universities. And I completely, strongly agree that if people have got staffing challenges, reach out to universities. And you've got some phenomenal students that I've seen in some of the programs I've been involved at the University of Houston as well too. So thank you for everything that you're doing, Agnes, and and your university as well as the others. And please, everyone, reach out to those campuses, because there's some great talent. And yeah, there may be some challenges with what they want to do from a work perspective, but I think hopefully we can be able to work into that. So Agnes, thank you again. Turn it over. I don't have any final comments. Jim, do you have any final comments you want to make?
No, we can turn it over to Barbara.
Okay, well, that hour just flew by with with all that, and there was a lot of great discussion also in the chat that hopefully will also continue through the online community. But it is also interesting to be able to take it back to maybe the annual convention education session. We'll investigate that, or perhaps even do another idea exchange topic with the comments that we had here. Let's see, to talk about the rest of the sessions for LES. I know several people have been asking about what are our plans for the June one, because we kind of just left that one vague. I'm going to kind of skip that one for a moment and then go along to tell you that in July, there will be another book club. The 2 books have been posted to the online community. It is scheduled for Thursday, July 21st at 10 o'clock in the morning Central Time. One of the authors, Victoria Labam, she would like to attend and is planning on attending, and it will be moderated by Mark Pate, who is the HFTP president. The August session, the current plans are to have another idea exchange. We may need to change the date of that to perhaps the week earlier in August, so stay tuned for that. And then, of course, in September, we have our recognition event, and that's for, remember, you need to continue your HFTP membership, and you need to attend 6 out of the 8 sessions that we are holding and offering. So with that being said, Jim, would you like to talk about our June session?
Sure. So our June session is intended to be our first live session. It will be held during high tech. Because of some scheduling and juggling of schedules, we normally meet on Thursday. Our live session in June will be on Wednesday. And Art and I will be conducting a fireside chat with the COO and the president of Rosen Hotels and Resorts, Harris Rosen. So we look forward to seeing all of you who can participate with us live. It would be great. The session has really turned into an actual HFTP educational session. And for those of you who can't join us, we will record the session so it can be seen after the fact. That's our exciting news for the June session.
Yes, it is exciting to be able to have this opportunity to hear his story. A great leader with inside the hospitality industry, also with all of his foundation outreach. Also, just yes, all of us are looking forward to it, and I will send out information regarding it to the full group soon, shortly, at some point. So yes, once again, thank you everyone for attending. It was another great session. Keep posting to the online community or, reach out to me. And if you need to connect with someone else, and I'll make sure that those introductions are made. So with that, we're going to go ahead and conclude and end today's session.